Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, April 22nd. It's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast of America. I am the founder of the Sales Pro Network. I'm a sales coach and trainer, and I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And I founded the Sales Pro Network as a place where salespeople can come and hang out, ask questions, get coaching, network with each other, learn how to make more money. And as you know, every Friday at 10 a.m., we do a live broadcast and we either interview somebody who can add value to the profession of sales, or I do a live training today. I've got somebody very special for you. It's my pleasure to introduce you to my new friend, Fred Copestake. And by the way, before you say hello, Fred, I have to tell you that when I posted yesterday that I was excited to talk to you, one of the members of the team wrote back and said, I read that as Cupcake, so I promised I would introduce you as Fred Cupcake. So here's my friend, Fred Cupcake. Good morning, Fred.
Cupcake, soap flake, chopstick, cheapskate. All good. Cupcake.
As long as the check's made out to the right name, right?
Fred.
Well, it's very good to be speaking with you today, Fred. Fred, before we get going, could you maybe take a minute or two and just give us the background, the 2-minute version of your background? What brought you up to this point?
Sure, yeah. So, Fred Copestake, founder of Bryndis, sales training company. I've been doing that for 22 years, 23 years now. Been around the world 14 times, trained over 10,000 salespeople, and I just had a brilliant time doing it. I had a really brilliant time, but also gave me the opportunity to spot some of the challenges that salespeople have today, which is why I've written one book to start with, and then I had to write another book pretty quickly afterwards because COVID came along and didn't change what salespeople need to do, but it certainly added more challenges, and so I wanted to respond to that pretty quickly. But yeah, that's it basically. So I've been around a lot, working with salespeople, and just having great fun doing it.
Got it. You said you have a great time doing it. What's so much fun about doing what you do?
Just from that pure travel point of view, and going to different places and working with people in a different environment is great, because people say, oh, it's different here, different here, different here. The sales fundamentals are the same. So that's great. Passing on the knowledge and giving people results. That's where you get a buzz as well, isn't it? But then the challenge to yourself to be able to just make the tweak to make sure that what you're doing in kind of Bogota is relevant. Then it's kind of Dubai next, it's somewhere else next. I like that, and knowing you're getting it right is pretty cool. It's the personal challenge bit, I guess.
I hear you. I love when you see the light bulb go off over their heads in the audience, and you can see that they're actually getting it. And like you, I've done this in a lot of places, and I'm always stunned and honored when somebody brings me to some place like England. Because my thought is always, don't you know there are guys who do what I do there? I'm not going to tell them, but yeah, it's kind of. In the beginning of my career, for me, it was kind of an ego thing. Wow, they think enough of me to fly them into England. Now it's like, I'm happy to sleep in my own bed.
It's the same when I went to the States. It's like there's hundreds of guys over here who are really good. I probably learnt my stuff off the books they've written, but it's sometimes just the different accent or the different emphasis, or it might be a different speciality. But yeah, it is a flattering thing. But yeah. For me, it's making that difference. That is great. When we can do that, happy days.
I hear you. I actually got contacted by a guy from Qatar who said, oh, you're from New York? They'll just love you because you're from New York. It doesn't matter what you say. New Yorkers, they love you. Sounds good to me.
It's funny, when I'm working in the States, my accent becomes terribly English. I mean, really, a lot more English than I'm probably sounding on the show now. It's good fun.
Well, for most of us, we think that just about anything that comes out of your mouth sounds brilliant just because of the accent.
That's it. I mean, we didn't do any self-training, actually. Don't tell anyone. Just told them stories.
Hey, guys, if you're watching us live, please say hello in the comments. If you're on Facebook and you have not connected your Facebook account to StreamYard, we won't know who you are, so please put your name in there too. And if you have any questions for Fred as we're going through this, please put them in the comments too. I'll get them to him, and I'm sure he'd be thrilled to answer them for you. And finally, if you're watching us on the replay, please be sure to put replay in the comments. And good morning to you, Steve Kent. Let's get right to some questions. Fred, can you speak a little bit about maybe the evolution of sales?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that, having been around quite a bit, is that you do see some of the changes. But then I started to make it a bit of a study, because I thought, well, there's lots of things which have happened in selling, and I want to make sure that we capture all the good stuff, that we totally dismiss a lot of the bad stuff, and so that what we are doing today is really helping the salespeople we're working with do the right thing. And so I mean, I kind of went back to sort of the 50s, and I kind of spotted some sort of trends that was going on in sales training and the way in which people were trying to sell. And a lot of it is still really good. It's still really relevant. We don't want to throw it away. And so broadly, and these are gemmied in a little bit to fit in the decades. In the 50s, we saw that it was very much about, well, it's about the era, wasn't it? It's about rebuilding. It was about processes, about being more effective, more efficient. So it's all about process methodology, tried and tested techniques, doing the same thing time and time again. You think, well, okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, why would we not train people to have structures and methodologies and stuff now? Makes sense, huh? Then you kind of move into the 60s, and I always think the 60s, I always think of like the flower power, the psychedelia, you know, the kind of, well, this fascination with the brain and doing things with it. But in the case of selling, it was about, we'll try to understand how people think. You know, what's their psychology? How can we adapt our approach to fit in with them? Make things that we do more comfortable because of how they think. Again, well, that makes sense now. Why would we not want to do that? Have a customer feeling comfortable. So again, use personality styles analysis and stuff. That's cool. And I looked at the 70s and went, they've talked far more about benefits in the 70s. You know, the old what's in it for me, their features, advantage, benefit, all that kind of stuff. And again, that's a fundamental, that's a foundation. If you don't understand that stuff now, I wouldn't even let you on the phone, on a Zoom call in the car, anything. It's like, you know, you got to use that as a basis. 80s. Close. You looked at it and think, well, did anything good come out of the 80s for selling? Or is it just like where it made our reputation really bad? I'm glass half full. And so I kind of see that if sales is a series of advancements, if we have to close certain stages, if we've got to keep moving forward, let's take that from that decade. But let's not take much else, because actually we want to be forward fasting into the 90s pretty quickly, because consultative selling. I mean, that's kind of what really came to the fore there. Absolute foundation of what it is that we're doing now. Understanding people's needs, asking better questions, becoming the trusted advisor. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that salespeople must get their heads around. But it's still 30 odd years old, isn't it? I mean, there's other evolutions which are built on that. Where you sort of see in the noughties, it was kind of talking about, well, yes, you've got to be consultative, but you've got to add value as well. But, you know, understand context better, bring more perspective to the party, help people think more about what you can really do for them and how you can work together. That's pretty cool. 10s, I mean, then I was talking about social stature. So it's kind of positioning yourself as the go-to salesperson and making sure that you are considered the expert, and just starting to use Web 2.0. I mean, now we talk about social media and personal branding, yeah, which again is still relevant. We will take these things from it. And then in the 20s, you know, I saw the next iteration, the next evolution being all about becoming more collaborative. Collaborative selling is where it's at for me. It's taking a lot of that good stuff that I've just talked about, but making sure we're really co-creating, we're working together, we're kind of with the customer. The whole collaboration thing is the way we are going to drive each other's results. And that's the stuff that really kind of made me think, yes, you know what? We want to be helping people do this as best they possibly can. And so that's the kind of how I've seen sales. It's simplified a little bit, but evolve good bits from it. Let's keep them, and we'll bin some of the other rubbish.
So now it's really more about seeing the prospect as a partner.
I believe so. Yeah, I talk about selling with partnering skills. That's the title of the book, you know. So it's, you take the partnering skills, which a lot of people go, oh, well, that's for channel, isn't it? That's for when you're building alliances. That's the formal. No, it's for me every single sale, because if you understand what the partnering skills are, it starts to change how you think, like you said, about the customer, and they are my partner. I want to work with them. Might not be a formal business alliance, it's a customer, but in my head, I work with them like they're my partner. Changes what you say and do. And for me, that informs the more collaborative approach. That's your ticket into thinking that way.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because the customer knows what they need, the customer knows what they want. And instead of us pitching, which was the really old style, let me show you why this company, our company, is the greatest one in the world and why you should be using us. If somebody knows what they want, what they need, what would really help them the most, then why not be a partner with them and ask them the right questions and involve them in a conversation so that you can understand what they want and need. And then if you can actually deliver it, now you've got a sale. Is that pretty much what you're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
with
yeah.
partnering?
It is. What would a good partner do is this: if they know what they want, will you help them to do that? If they don't know what they want, a good partner will say, okay, well, I'm here to guide you. I'm here to work with you on that. Yeah. A good partner will say, you know what I want to do isn't the best thing. Let me introduce you to somebody else, because what goes around comes around. So it's that mindset, and it's these set of partnering skills that I came across. PQ. It's like the lesser known cousin of IQ and EQ. That if you start to bring those into your sell, again, I'll say whatever style, bring those in, that informs you as to how to work most effectively with people in a really modern approach.
Yeah, I like everything you're saying, but especially I love that if I'm not the right person or product or company for you, I'm going to introduce you to somebody else who can be. I have two main competitors here on Long Island where I live. I've referred business to both of them where I just didn't either. I didn't feel I was right, or they weren't right for me, because I have a set of criteria for who
Yeah,
I'll work with, or I was just too busy. I certainly, you said what goes around comes around. I also believe in the abundance theory. There's
yeah,
plenty of business for everybody, and I've taught my kids and everybody I work with for years and years an acronym ADTRT, which stands for always do the right thing.
yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm borrowing that.
So what do you find are some of the challenges from modern salespeople?
Yeah, so this is the stuff that I've kind of distilled from going off around the world all those times and looking at what people do. Different sectors, yeah, different countries, but broadly they fall into three main areas that I kind of made up my own little terms for, and I can explain what they are. But I talk about busy, 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 oldie worldy, and muddled mindset. Those are three challenges that most salespeople will have one, two, maybe all three, three strikes and you're kind of out type thing. But busy, busy, busy. Okay, it's where the salesperson is busy. They're running around, they're being really active, working hard, nose to the grindstone, early starts, late finishes. They're getting on with stuff, grinding, hustling. It's just ineffective. That's the problem. What they're doing and all that busyness isn't translating to business, So it's kind of like, it's just not effective. And we see that challenge so often. And people perpetuate it by just getting busier, trying to fix it, and it just goes into this horrible vicious spiral. It can then be connected to oldie worldy, like oldie worldy sweetie shoppy, where oldie worldy is old fashioned stuff. People are trying techniques which were in vogue. I've kind of skipped through that evolution, given some of the things which have worked still. There's plenty of things which people were saying and doing at the time, which now are totally irrelevant. They won't work, so it just wastes time, it makes you busier. It could be worse than that. It could actually wind people up because they see through it, go, that is so salesy. That is just not good. I don't want to work with somebody who behaves like that. Exacerbates the problem. Then you end up with this kind of muddled mindset thing where I think, and often this is probably a bit more of a company's responsibility, in that they'll say, we're consultative, our salespeople are consultative. They're going to be trusted advisors. They're going to work with you. We provide solutions. Oh, this is excellent stuff. Yes, just want to work with you. And it's like that 28 days of the month. Come the last 2 days, it's, oh, we haven't made enough sales. Right, get out there, sell some stuff. Go on, push that, discount that. Go on, do it this. Salesperson's like, am I consultative? Am I transactional? Am I trying to work with the customer? Am I trying to flog stuff to them? Or what's going on? And the customer's like, what is going on? Actually, we know what's going on. You're just going to come to the end of the month and give us a discount. Okay, guess what you trained us to do? So you kind of see how these are linked together. They're slightly different, but common. They're the challenges that people have to deal with today.
Yeah, it's kind of like that famous first 10 minutes in the movie Glenn Ross with Alec Baldwin as the sales manager from hell, where he points to the board and goes, ABC, always be closing. That didn't work when it first came out, and it doesn't work today. Hi, Fred, nice to meet you. Will you buy from me? Always be closing doesn't work. There's only one time to close, and then that's when the customer, the prospect, thinks it's time to close.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying.
Always be collaborating. That's what I'm going to say.
Much better. Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. When I started my career almost 50 years ago, I sold Encyclopedia Britannica, and that was a one-call close where you really had to push hard. It was you either bought or you didn't. 48 years ago, that stuff did work. It doesn't work today. Today's consumer is way too educated. The internet really did change everything for us in sales. And it's too easy to find out everything they need to know before they even meet with us. So that collaborative salesperson, the helpful salesperson that really helps people come to the right decision for them, is really the way to go. And I'm with you 1,000,000%. You know, I don't know about where you are, but here in America, anybody with a half a brain buys a car the last 2 days of the month because they know the salespeople are under huge pressure to close deals, and they're going to give you the best discount they possibly can.
Yeah, it is. That's kind of what we train people to do, and people think, "Oh God, I was really clever. I closed that deal." Well, not really.
Yeah, exactly. So what can salespeople do? How do they deal with these challenges?
Okay, so we talk about the busy, busy, busy. So it's being about ineffective. So the cure is to be effective. So how do we do that? For me, it's about preparation. It's about planning. It's about process. So again, it's just taking your time to think about what is the best thing I can do here with this customer? What is my overall plan to go about achieving my target? And if my problem is because I'm unfocused and I kind of get distracted with things, it's use a process which time and time again is going to give me the best results. So don't be so wasteful, prepare stuff, think about how you could actually it's a very tiring, stressful place to be, the busy, busy, busy. So by just planning and knowing how and when you're going to do things, that's what will start to alleviate that problem. When we talk about the oldie worldy, I mean, again, the simple, the flippant thing is we'll get up to date. Stop being so old fashioned. But easier said than done. So what do we need to do? So for me, this is flip, follow, and focus. So you flip what it is you do. Because one of the things we know that people are doing in an old-fashioned way is being quite self-centered. It's like you said, right, let me talk about me, let me talk about my products, let me talk about my company. It's me, aren't we great? No, talk about the customer. So you flip it, spend more time talking about them. Something that can happen with that, and I've seen it particularly in technical industries, is people get too techie sometimes. They get right down into the weeds and they get so fascinated with a little detail. It's like that can, with some people, be exactly the right thing to do. Many others, it's like, oh, please just stop already. Too much detail. So again, it's like follow a process, follow a way of working that's going to keep you doing the right thing at the right time. And if it's poor practice, if you're just using old-fashioned stuff, you think it's a good idea, just focus on what works today. There's enough stuff out there. Yeah, they don't need to buy your books, don't need to buy my books. There's enough free stuff out there, but if you did want to buy us, it's not that thing.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, there's enough education to know what doesn't work now and what does. And then with the model mindset stuff, is just we need better alignment. So again, I talk about clarity, coaching, and commitment on this. So it's the organization has to be clear on the way they want to operate, and they have to stick with that, so that then the managers know, okay, this is good, this is what we're trying to help people to implement, and we can coach it. Coaching is a totally different podcast, isn't it? But no, we can coach it, we can reinforce it, we can make sure it's happening. So then the salesperson is like, okay, I can commit to what I'm going to do because I know it is the thing that's expected, it's the right thing, and that is what's going to make the difference here. So there's the challenges, they're the sort of the quick ways to fix those, and that's all what's built into being more collaborative and the thinking behind why that works so well today.
Yeah, I love what you said about getting into the weeds. I find quite often I've trained sales engineers, and boy, oh boy, do they love to talk technology. And when you're speaking to the right person who understands what you're talking about, that's brilliant. But otherwise, you can literally see people leaving the room. Well, not literally; they're figuratively leaving the room. Mentally, they're leaving it. Their eyes glaze over, and they're just waiting for you to finish so they can kick your rear end out. You really do have to speak to the level of the prospect, and sometimes all that technical jargon is just getting in the way. I'm a big fan of having genuine conversations.
Yeah. Sometimes it's totally right. I mean, it's just right. Okay, always an engineer talking engineering. I'll come back in a couple of hours. They'll be the best friends, and they'll have actually done lots of correct stuff. But the FD walks in and he starts getting told how this works with it. No. Yeah.
So I know you're big on hybrid selling. What is hybrid selling?
Yeah. So I kind of put my own definition on that. There was a lot of stuff going on, wasn't there? As soon as pandemic hit, about hybrid this, hybrid that, hybrid working, hybrid meetings, and people start talking about hybrid selling. And it kind of got up my nose a little bit because it's like, hang on a minute, you know what we are saying here is nothing big and nothing new. Salespeople have worked in customer locations, in their own locations, in neutral locations. They've worked online, they've worked offline, they've worked on the phone, they've worked in meetings, worked in hotel. That's nothing new for many of us. So stop trying to give it a new label. However, hybrid's a pretty good label. Let's think about what it actually means. It's actually a mix. And that's what people are doing. It's like mixing being in real life and mixing on screen. And I'll go, look, that's one part of it. But for me, hybrid selling, it's like mixing up a whole bunch of approaches to sales that we're now needing, because as COVID came in, it's forced the rate of change. Stuff that was going to happen is now in place, and stuff that is going to happen faster. And that's just laid on apart from your busy, oldie wildy little mindset. You've now got another set of challenges on top of that to do with speed and change. So the hybrid selling approach is just bringing in some of the things, many which exist already, some are a little bit newer than others, and just making sure you're competent in all these things to future-proof yourself and to make sure you are doing the right stuff for customers. The analogy, there's a simple analogy to this, is if you imagine sales is playing a drum and you're sat there and you've got a little snare drum and you're tapping away on it, that's not the best performance, but that's what some sellers are figuratively doing. They've kind of got away with it and it's been okay up till now, and people have watched that performance. But then when they start to go, hang on a minute, I need a bit more than that. You need a full drum kit. You need a lot of different drums, different things, different parts of percussion that you can play to do the right thing at the right time, to keep the whole performance something that people want to be engaged with. That's what we need to do. That's what hybrid is doing, is bringing in this mix of different sales disciplines to make sure that what you're going to be doing is going to be current and kind of, more important, future-proofed.
Got it. Okay. Pete Ekstrom, who's listening in, says hybrid selling ZZZ. I don't know whether that means it's putting him to sleep or he's excited and that it's electric, one or the other, but glad to see you here today, Peter.
I'm hoping that it's ZZZ with this old-fashioned kind of like, that's not really what it is. A lot of people basically define hybrid as virtuous. Although it's virtuous, it's got its own name, you know. It's already there. There's so many other bits. 6 parts to it. I use the acronym EVOLVE. Okay, let's see if Peter's okay with this then, or whether it's still boring. So E for essentials. You've got to have the essentials. If you're going to be involved in sales in any way, shape, or form, you have to have a good, solid foundation. If you're not building off that, it's a house on sand and there's going to be trouble ahead. V, virtual. Yes, we have to now be comfortable in doing stuff online, asynchronous as well as synchronous. We've got to bring social selling into the equation. We've got to use some of that kind of stuff. And we've even got to get our heads around some of the AI tools and some of the things which can do the heavy lifting for us, do the boring bits, and then let us do the human bits, which only we can do. Happy days. We then go into the O for evolve. That's opportunity management. So this is all about understanding, okay, this opportunity that I have, who are the people involved, what's important to them, how am I going to map that, what information I've got about competitors, what do I know about myself, and what do I start to know that I don't know? It's those kind of known unknowns, so that you can then start to synthesize what are the right actions to be able to keep that sale moving forward. Again, that's a discipline. It's not, I'm not inventing anything there. It's been around a long time. You know, the old blue sheets. Remember the blue sheets with the Hyman? It's literally big sheets of paper. I'm sure they're electronic now, but L is lead. Salespeople have got to be leaders. Got to be leaders. Yeah, we've got to lead customers. In which case, a lot of people go, "Oh, hang on a minute. Have you got a bit 80s on us, Fred? What do you mean leading customers? You said we don't want to do any of that stuff." No, it's lead guide. Guide customers and take them on the journey if they need that. If they know their journey, then we align to it. Equally, we've got to be able to lead our own teams. Need to be bringing other people in. So again, there's for me, it's more servant leader skills that salespeople can deploy. The next V is about value selling. Again, nothing massively new there. Though I would question how many people do it really, really well. Because a lot of people rock up and tell you what your value is. Well, which is not right. It's like work with somebody to understand what they think value is. Ways to do that. And again, refining that and doing that. So again, you're customer focused makes a big difference. The last E of evolve is to expand what you're doing. So it's about account management skills, customer success management skills, self-management skills. Hybrid selling is easy peasy. It's just that stuff. No, it's quite overwhelming. That's David Brock wrote the forward to the book. He said, oh, that's pretty overwhelming. But of course, that's the point. It is. Yeah, it's a big ask on professional B2B salespeople to be able to deliver on all those fronts if they're going to carry on being useful and relevant. If not, what are you here for? I don't understand what role you'll be fulfilling.
And that's why good salespeople get the big bucks.
because they're very competent in all that stuff. You know, they're not sat tapping away on the little drum. They're like the drum analogy always reminds me of when I went to see Guns N' Roses, but actually it was the support band, which was Motley Crue supporting. Tommy Lee's the drummer, isn't he? And of course the show's about him. The drum kit is in the middle of the stage. Yeah, it's normally in the back, no, middle. Big ring of light around it. Longer drum solos in every piece of music that you normally need. And then at one stage, he's in this ring of light, okay, and it starts moving. The drum kit starts moving side to side, and it's going up the sides of this ring, and it's like, is he? Oh, yes, he is. So he's upside down. He's upside down, ring of light, drumming away. His drum kit's huge as well, by the way. It's like, what a star. That's why he's getting the bags. That's why he's getting the bucks. And actually, no, interestingly on that, what he did, when he came back down to the ground, he got off his drum kit. He went and got somebody out of the crowd, strapped them in next to him, and then did the same again. Actually, that is quite a good metaphor for collaborative selling, in that I can play this massive drum kit and you're in next to me as the customer. So,
what is the difference between consultative selling and a collaborative approach?
Probably get a bit techy about this, but for me, the consultative approach would be what came out of the Neil Rackham work in the 90s, where he developed spin selling, and that's where we're encouraged to be very consultative and earn that position as a trusted advisor, because we were asking questions to help people understand their issues, their problems better, and then position what we could do, which is great. I mean, that is a foundational piece of collaborative. What I'm saying with collaborative is you need to bring that into it. But collaborative, you're actually starting to think more about, but how can we work on this together? Who else might I bring in? How can we co-create stuff? The value creation and the value understanding stuff, let's bring a bit of that into the party. So it's just taking it into its next level. A bit like Challenger did. If you think about Challenger, again, my interpretation, updated consultative into the well, noughties, tens. It's like, well, yeah, and keep doing that, but we've got other things that we can now do to keep us fresh, keep us moving forward.
Got it. Okay. We got a good morning from Texas. I'm guessing this is Fran Cole-Hebler. Good morning, Fran, if that's you. And if not, good morning, Texas.
Good morning, Texas. Oh, I never thought I'd be saying that on a Friday afternoon. Yeah.
Well, it's still Friday morning here, so we can still say it.
Yeah.
So what is the value framework, and what does that have to do with the collaborative approach?
So the collaborative approach, that's how I've put it together so I can make sense of it. I need to hang stuff around frameworks, if you haven't noticed already. and again, when we're training people, you know as well as I do, that it just makes it easier for people to conceptualize and to work out the things to do. So the value framework is where we take all that good selling that's come out of the evolution of sales I talked about before, the elements of PQ, the elements of partnering skills, and we bring them together. And all the value framework stands for, all it stands for is validate, align, leverage, underpin, and evolve. And so you can look at each of those parts of a sale. I guess so validate, so qualifying to a degree, but actually we need to psychologically qualify and work out it takes two to tango. And do I actually want to work with these people? A bit like you were saying earlier. Align, I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to work out where I think I can do some good here. You know, what's the kind of value I think I might be able to deliver? Because I want to take that stuff, that research, that prep into the leveraged conversation. So I want to have a good conversation, you know, the good, solid, basic, going through that. Underpinning is then backing up what I'm saying once we start to make a pitch, the presentation proposal, and then the expand part is to then keep it moving forward. How do we deliver on what we've promised? So the value framework is just a way of bringing those things together and kind of to structure what a collaborative sale would need to involve.
Got it. Let's see. Edward Henry says a collaborative approach cannot work without a project approach and one lead to own oversight and accountability. Okay, Edward, I'm not.
I'm with Edward. Definitely with Edward on that. I mean, and certainly that's kind of where collaborative has morphed into hybrid. That's what I'm saying with hybrid. That's that whole opportunity management piece in there. I think it's better if there is one lead personally as well, because they get it all. They've got that bigger picture. It's like, you know, we're trying to do a jigsaw together. Lots of people have different parts. The lead has got the box. It's got, you know, knows what it probably looks like. That kind of changes, doesn't it? But yeah, no, I'm with that. Totally.
I'm looking for the corners and the outside edges first. That's what I'm doing with that jigsaw.
Yeah, other people have got those. Some people have got the middle. Someone's got the box. Someone says, actually, you've all got it upside down anyway. Oh, okay. So yeah, no, I like that.
Got it. One of the things I love to do about these interviews, by the way, we're about halfway through. If you're just joining us, you're listening to the Sales Pro Network podcast and blogcast, and we're talking to Fred Copestake, a brilliant trainer and coach from the UK. One of the things I love when I'm doing research is I get to see different things and ask questions about stuff that I'm curious about. So here's one that I found in doing research about you. What is future orientation?
Okay, so future orientation is one of the elements of PQ. So I talk about PQ. It's not something I've invented. So this is something that a guy called Steve Dent does a lot of work in the late 80s, early 90s on. And he was looking at those big full-on alliances. When the airlines were coming together and sort of doing the route share and everything, it worked better. And he was asked, well, how can we make these alliances better? What can we do? He went off, did the research, and came back and told them, to cut a long story short, well, you realize that organizations don't partner, people do. So PQ is people skills. And so he's put this through, he's validated, he's verified it. And future orientation is one of the 6 parts. So start off with trust. Yeah, I always start trust when I'm talking about these 6. Of course, we have to have trust. And he's applied this to partnering, remember? And I'm saying that actually these fit for sales. Trust, win-win focus, interdependence or comfort with interdependence. We've got transparency. He thought about self-disclosure and feedback. Talked about comfort with change. Again, we're selling change, aren't we? So we need to be pretty comfortable with it and understand ourselves. And future orientation. So future orientation is like establishing, what are the goals? What's the vision that we have? Where are we headed? Yeah. How are we going to work together towards that? Let's make our decisions based on where we're headed rather than looking backwards all the time and saying, oh, well, Jeff, you know what? That didn't used to work 20 years ago. Yeah, but we're now, and we're aiming towards that, which is a different goal anyway. So it's by deliberately using all of those elements, of which future orientation is one of them, a skillful salesperson can really get their head right and use it to inform, how they are operating with their customers. They can actually be very deliberate and kind of overt about it. Hey, by the way, I use partnering skills. These are the things that I subscribe to. Or they can just go, no, that's my internal compass, that's my guide, but this is how I'm operating. So yeah, that's why I go on about future orientation, because it's one of the elements that helps you be more collaborative.
God, I just didn't know it by that term, but it's one of my favorite questions to ask my prospects. If you were a vice president of sales, and I'm assuming you sell to those people just like I do, one of the questions I love asking is, hey, Fred, let's assume we choose to work together. We both decide that we're going to work together. And 6 months from now, we're sitting in your office like we are now, and we're talking. What would have to have happened for you to say, wow, did I make a good decision in engaging with Jeff Goldberg 6 months ago? What would your salespeople be doing more of that they're not doing enough of? Or what would they be doing better or differently, or maybe less of? Tell me a little bit about that. So that sounds to me, that's a future orientation question, yes?
It is. And because then you're going, I have that information. We can now use that. Everything we now say and do is aligned towards that goal. Not I thought it should be. If you think that's what it should be, then that's great. That is what we're going towards. I'm going to do this in a transparent way. It's going to involve change. I understand what change is like. So again, you can see how you bring all the other elements in and they act together. And this approach, it starts to develop in you. Really powerful.
Yeah, I think that the great beauty, maybe even elegance of a question like that is when you ask it and your prospect answers it, what they're telling you is, here's how you can sell me. My belief is if you ask the right questions and do the hardest thing for salespeople, which is shut up and listen, that they'll actually tell you everything you need to know in order to help them choose to do business with you. But most salespeople are so busy. Let me tell you why we're the greatest company in the world and why you should use us, square peg, round hole. It doesn't make sense. I'd rather let the prospect sell themselves. In fact, my mentor in this business taught me years ago. He called me up one day. He goes, I've made a decision. I'm not writing any more proposals. I said, what are you talking about? Don't you have to go back to a prospect with a proposal? He goes, oh yeah, I'm going in with proposals, but I'm letting them write them. I'm just going to ask the questions. I'm just going to write down on my proposal exactly what they told me. And I said, brilliant, because that's all my proposals are too. You said you want this. Here's how I'm going to deliver it to you. It's not rocket science.
I always put a background in, show I've understood the company. That's the first part, background. Okay.
Of course.
I actually got source of data.
Background assessment. Right. There's all that stuff in there.
Well, no, background assessment, you just go to the What About Us on their website and drop it in. That's what they like saying about themselves, isn't it? There you go, background written 3 seconds later. Right, needs, it's what you told me. I was just
Right.
listening, I was writing. You can get stuff to record it now. You can probably transcribe it, drop it straight in verbatim. Right, so then what are we going to do to deal with that? The solution, that's the half clever bit. Yeah, and then the why us bit, well, actually, that's all the great things that people have done in the past, and so I just copy and paste that one in anyway. So actually, the hard work, you're right, they will do it for you.
Yeah.
And it's way more interesting.
And it feels better to them, and it feels better to
Yeah.
us. I don't want to be put. Look, here's my belief, and I don't know how many years you've been in the business. I've been in it almost 50 years, but together we're highly experienced. We're both expert salespeople, but I don't believe either of us, alone or together, and everybody listening with all their experience. I don't believe that together we are good enough to talk anybody into anything that they don't want, don't need, or can't afford. And I don't believe that's our job. I think our job when we're selling is simply have great conversations with people and help people come to the right decision for them, which hopefully is to choose to do business with us. It's not about pressuring. It's not about talking people into things. It's not about being pushy. It's just go in and have better conversations, because if you do ask the right questions and listen actively, they will tell you exactly what you need to know.
Yeah. And like I say, I mean, look, I'm a nosy git. I'm so curious. I like hearing about people and what they do and how they do it. We get paid to do this.
Be
Brilliant, isn't it?
curious. Yeah.
Yeah. And they talk about their favorite subject, which is themselves. It's it when that if we talk about putting light bulbs on in people, when that light bulb kind of comes on, this is going to be great, because that person is going to change what they do. They're going to just the pressure's going to come off. They're going to have so much more fun selling, and they'll do a better job, because it's not, I've got to push this, I've got to put this, but me. It's like, no, it's about you. And well, that's weird. We can help with that. When do you want to
Push,
start?
push, push. Push does
Yeah,
not work. I don't want to
yeah.
push anybody into anything. By the way, I don't know if you can hear the dogs are barking on. Can you hear that?
No, they're getting excited about collaborative selling and
Yeah. Well,
not being pushy
I
salesy people, are they?
I have one dog, and normally he has a bar collar on, but I'm watching my ex-wife's dog while she's away, and I don't have a bar collar for him, so they're going nuts. I apologize. Edward Henry had a couple of questions, it looks like. Do you believe that mutual expectation is needed to establish a true partnership between the buyer and the seller?
Yep. Next. No, it's a great question. And again, I'm going to keep coming back to these elements of PQ, which is, when I came across this stuff, I was so excited, because it talks about win-win and having this win-win focus. So yeah, this is what we're talking about, mutual benefit. So unless we're both getting something out of this, well, that's kind of pointless in us doing it. So part of that discussion, and as we're getting people to talk, is making sure that we understand that. The expectation bit is interesting, because we can't expect our customers to be mind readers. So actually, we do have to do a little bit of talking at some stage. And part of that, and this is something that, again, less experienced salespeople can struggle with, is saying, okay, so you want this, 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 and this, but what I want or what I need is this, 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 and this, because that's what makes it good for me. We expect customers to just guess that. Now, sometimes that's literally our expectation is just the price, but sometimes when we're on these bigger projects and this kind of more sophisticated, more complex sale, there's quite a lot of extra stuff going on. So if we can, look for this win-win, folks, we're going to be interdependent, because our success is going to be dependent on their success and vice versa. And then this transparency element where we're saying, hey, look, this is what we need. It's putting us in a way better position. So that is an excellent question. Flippant answer,
Yeah.
which I probably shouldn't have given like that, but no, it totally is, and that's what sort of PQ and this collaborative approach totally talks about.
Well, if you like that, Edward's got another one.
Oh,
Do you mean to do what you do? Do you mean to do what you would do if you were dating? Do an intimate discovery, set the mutual expectations, keep touch points to a minimum, don't give the customer work, and always set a next step?
Oh, long question. So, do you mean to do what you do if you're dating? Um, Yeah, I'm going to pick up on a couple of things there. So we talked about mutual expectations. Yeah, the discovery piece. I saw some stuff the other day which was really winding me up. There was a bunch of people on LinkedIn who were kind of getting excited about how they'd managed to strip their discovery down to 10 minutes and how clever that was. Jeff, that's the best face. So, you think that's clever? You think that's a good thing? Yeah, between getting the whole call done in half an hour. It's like, whoa, I mean, how can you even claim that's consultative, let alone collaborative or showing any care. From what I've read reading into that question was, yeah, the more time you take to discover, to let people talk about themselves, the better you understand to be able to use that information. But the point is that questions and why we question has moved on. The discovery, the questioning used to be, I need to discover this, A, to make sure that you tick off my BANT checklist, and then to give me enough information so I can go, right, good enough, let me fire off a proposal to you. What I'm saying, salespeople now, is actually the questions you're asking are to help people think. If you can bring that to the party, you're now becoming a standout salesperson. Because at the end of the day, we're all saying pretty much similar stuff. People get really excited when I say that, but ultimately, yeah. But if what's differentiating is the way that when Jeff comes in the room, he asks me stuff, and I've got to go, oh God, he's at it again. He's really making me think here. This is hard, but it's so useful because I'd never considered that. And I think I've got it. And then he throws in a little nugget, which I hadn't even known in my own industry. That's a bit embarrassing, but he's made me think again. That's not for Jeff. Jeff knows what the solution looks like already, more than likely, because it's very similar to other things that have gone. But the customer's thinking, wow, what a guy to work with. I love these meetings. That's how I see it. And so that subtle shift in thinking about why we're asking questions, not just for checklist, still there. Yeah, you still want to make sure that people qualify, but can we bring value to the party because of what we're making them think, how we're making them think? That's good selling.
Yeah. Yeah, that 10-minute discovery is mind blowing. I'm often amazed when I speak to salespeople and I ask them, how long is your first meeting typically? And they'll say things, somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. And I'll always ask them, would you be stunned to find out that mine is an hour and a half? When I meet with a president or a CEO or a VP of sales, it's 90 minutes that first meeting. And I've yet to be kicked out of anybody's office where they said, oh, I didn't expect it to take this long, because you're engaging them in a real conversation where they're learning, you're learning, and you're establishing rapport and doing all the other things that you need to do. I don't know how you do that in 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, and as you said, you're talking to them about themselves. You're doing things which are making them thinking, I'm the top man in this company, and he's just come in and, oh my word, frightening me a little bit. What value I'm getting? No, you're not going anywhere, mate. Lock the door. Stay. Ask me some more stuff because I'm getting insights out of it.
Exactly right.
That should be our goal as sellers, not how fast can we do it. Oh, I was grumpy that day as well. Could you imagine what it was like being with? Honestly, I'm like, what is this what it's come to? Well, no, it hasn't, because there's lots of people doing a lot of very, very good stuff.
I hear you. I think almost every salesperson would agree that trust is important in sales. While many things have changed over the last 50 years, two that have not, as far as I'm concerned, is that given a choice, I'm sorry, unless they don't have a choice and can't get what you have to offer anywhere else, people still do business with people that they trust and like. Yeah. So because trust is so important, how does one go about establishing a relationship of trust with somebody that they just met?
Well, you can't do it 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Give it a bit longer and then start to do things in a certain way. So have you come across the trust equation? I love. So David Meister and Charles Green and forgive me, the other guy that wrote this thing. You write the trust equation as trust equals C plus R plus I over S. Right. So these are the components of trust. So what's the first? It's credibility. Where's knowing your stuff? Okay, good. Right, we know that. Of course, we're going to go to salespeople. We're going to say we know our stuff. We're going to demonstrate that. That's all well and good. Yeah. Reliability. Doing what you say you're going to do. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Good. We all do that. Intimacy is the I. So this is about being, if people feeling safe, is that if they're going to share information with you, it's safe with you, you're not going to do anything bad with it, you're going to use it with the best intent. And most salespeople will say, yeah, I'll do all that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, good. I can build trust. Wait, one. It's divided by S. Yeah, so S is self-orientation. So imagine this is an equation. You do all those things, you rack the number up. But if you're doing all of these because you're doing it for your own benefit, because I've done the trust thing and now they're going to buy off me, that number, that score comes down. If you're doing it because actually your orientation isn't towards yourself, it's to somebody else, so that score on the bottom is low, it's all about them. You're genuinely doing it with the intention that you want to help people, you want to put them in a better position, you want to make a difference to them. That is what builds trust. Honestly, that for me, that equation is so elegant because of that. First three things, pretty obvious. Yeah, we'll all do that. But who are you doing it for? You're doing it for them, you're doing it for you. When you're genuinely doing it for other people, that's what's going to start to build the trust. And that's where it can be a bit tricky when we're being pushed on with sales targets, we're being pushed on quota, like things we've got to do. We become a bit needy, but if you can genuinely do that for other people, because this stuff leaks, doesn't it? People will see it, people will sense it. But it's like, no, these people doing stuff genuinely because they want the best for me. That's where your trust starts to be built.
Yeah, I often say that prospects can smell need and greed like dogs smell fear. They can smell commission breath. You know,
Yep.
I need to close a
Yep.
sale. My boss is giving me a hard time. I'm going to get my car is going to be repossessed. And I'm a big fan of what Zig Ziglar used to say, that sales is really about service. That your come from,
Yeah.
you know, deep inside your gut has to be, I'm here to serve you, truly. Not just
Yeah.
I'm here to serve you so I can make money. I'm here to take great care of you. And
Yeah.
if that is something that you want, then yes, I'm going to make money. And if it's not, I'm going to shake your hand and, you know, thank you for your time and move on. And,
Yeah.
you know, if we can ever do business, great. But it's that, first of all, it's constant prospecting to make sure you're always speaking with enough people, because not everybody's going to buy. I don't care how good you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And it's that come from of truly, yes, of course I want to make money. I want to get paid for what I do. Look, I love doing what I do, but I like getting paid for it too. But at the end of the day, if you're not truly trying to help your prospect, they can tell. They know that you just want to make some money, and they're not interested unless, again, you've got what they need and can't get it anywhere else. In that case, you can be the biggest prick in the world. Other than that, you better come from, I'm here to help you if I can.
And that's why I love that equation, because those guys have synthesized it so well. I mean, that's why, you know, one of them's Harvard professor, so yeah, that's why it's so elegant and so easy to remember, so easy to explain. A lot of work and thinking gone into it, but it's this self-orientation. Yeah, sell to serve.
All right, so I'm looking at my questions now because I still have a bunch, and I see we only have like 14 minutes left. And there's one that I absolutely positively want to make sure we get to. What is the chimp paradox?
Oh, the chimp paradox. Probably one of the best books I've ever read. It's stunning. It is so good. I mean, I read quite a lot of books, novels, autobiographies, business books. But the chimp paradox, I love the thinking in it. It's written by a guy called Steve Peters, who I think is now a professor as well, who's both a psychologist and a psychiatrist. And it's just a way of understanding how your brain works. He talks about the mind management model. And he talks about how the fact that you've got a chimp in your head. Yeah, you've got three parts of the brain, basically. Oh God, this is terrible. I'm going to butcher it badly, but there's kind of three parts of the brain. There's the chimp, the human, and the computer. And so what happens is that all inputs coming into the brain go into the chimp brain first. It's the old part of the brain. It sees things in black and white. It's there to detect if something is going to do you harm, if there's danger. If everything's okay, chimp is calm, sleeps, doesn't do anything. And it lets the human brain, which is more socialized, it's a bit more modern, get on with stuff. Yeah, in a more modern way, because it's a newer part of the brain and it does things in the way that people do things in civilized society. Yeah. Problem is, if something comes into the brain and the chimp goes, oh, hello, this is a danger to us, it'll kick off. And the reason why so many people like this, and I like it so much, is because the language is like this chimp starts to go, it rattles its cage, it starts squawking, it starts making a real noise, and you behave a bit like chimp. You start doing things that you can't help. And again, I know you've probably done this, Jeff. I'm sure people listening, like, you know, when you're doing something, thinking, this is just so stupid, but I can't stop myself doing it. Yeah, it's your chimp. The chimp is stronger than human. If chimp arm wrestles a human, chimp wins. Yeah, it's there to protect us. That's what the paradox is. That this chimp, when something happens, it kicks off. And that's why, things like, well, road rage and that sort of thing, somebody cuts you up and you start going and driving really close to them, which means you're driving to the back of them. If they put the brakes on or they stop at the traffic lights, they get out, they're huge, they've got a baseball bat, but your chimp is making you do this stuff. Your human's going, don't, stop, Fred. That's so ridiculous. Can't help it. So there's this other part of the brain is a computer. Again, it's called a computer because it's been programmed. You can put programs in. And that's faster than the chimp and the human. So what they both do is they check the computer to see if there's any programs going on. So the chimp might go, oh, this has happened. Do I squawk? Oh, no, the computer says this is okay. I'm all right. I'm about to cold call, but I'm probably not going to die, so it's okay. The computer's giving me a structure on how to do that. I'm about to do a big presentation. Again, nobody's actually going to physically throw me out the room. Well, actually, that's never happened to me yet, but, so actually I can calm down yet. Calm down. So they refer back to the computer. So I love this because of the metaphor is so easy to understand. It explains why we do certain things we do, and it starts to give us the fix for it, which is to program your computer. get things in there, particularly if you think they are going to kick the chimp off, then make sure that the computer's going, no, you're okay with this. You've got a system. Steve Peters has worked with loads of elite sports teams.
Brilliant.
Because, well, as you can imagine, you're in the World Cup final, you're taking penalties to win the game. It's like your chimp is gonna be bouncing all over the place, and that's gonna be very, very distracting. You need to be cool, calm, collected. Hence, you practice penalties under pressure. You do things in a way which the chimp says, actually, no, we've got this. Fine, let the human carry on. Knows how to do it. And it just there's a lot which salespeople can take out of this, because we do end up in some pressured situations where our chimp will take over and we do stuff, and then it's like, oh god, I really wish I hadn't done that. Because the funny thing is, the chimp tires quite quickly. We've all done it. About an hour later, oh god, how embarrassing! I have to go back and say sorry to everybody. I had to do that the other day. My chimp went. So I just sent a photo of somebody with some bananas. I said, sorry, my chimp went. My bad. It was a situation I wasn't used to. I've got a computer program in it. It just went. Can't help it. It's what it does. It's there to protect you, and it just made me do weird stuff.
That's great. I can, as you were describing that, I was thinking, it's a good thing I don't walk around with a loaded gun all the time, because my chimp constantly wants to shoot people.
Your computer says leave it at home.
Yeah. You cut me off while I'm driving, boom. That's my chimp.
Your chimp, until it's programmed to go, look, come on. Let them go. They'll get there 3 seconds faster.
Perfect. Bryndis is the name of your sales training company, but what is Bryndis Golf?
Okay, so Bryndis Golf is a new venture. It's something that we're just in the throes of setting up, which is to work in that part of the world. So the whole collaborative selling approach, the whole way that I've built to train that around the collaborative selling accelerator, it's attracted quite a lot of attention over there. So I'm working with a couple of people there to essentially set up an office in Dubai, and to be able to market, sell, and deliver that training to that part of the world, because there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's a lot of things that they do really, really well. There's some ways in which we can really help them do stuff better, because they're all collaborative selling. It just spoke to them because of the relationship element of sales over there. So it's it's a new thing about setting up over there, and spreading the word into the Gulf.
Well, happy to help. This was another thing that
Dubai, Jeff. Yeah, I know.
This was another thing that I found fascinating, in something that you posted that I'd like to hear about. What can salespeople learn from rock music and vampires?
I know what that is. It's LinkedIn, wasn't it? Yeah, what it means is you should listen to loud rock music, then go and bite your customers, draw the blood out of them, and they're yours forever. There we go. You're going to cut that bit and use that as the promo, aren't you?
I might.
52 minutes talking about collaboration, and I went proper old school. No, I'm being stupid. No, I think that was at the weekend I'd gone. It was a LinkedIn post, wasn't it? At the weekend I'd gone to see this rock musical around a very flimsy story of vampires living in this castle. Well, basically, it was just an excuse to play a lot of old rock classics, using the lyrics as kind of like the next part of this. It's like a grown-up pantomime, to be honest. Like with all the classics. I mean, you got Queen, you got Guns N' Roses, you got all these guys coming and doing it. But what I think the point I was making there is, I mean, they were playing some good stuff, but they finished on Bat Out of Hell. And it was just after Meatloaf had died, actually. So it was quite a moving part of the whole show. But I mean, Bat Out of Hell, it's a huge song. The audience are on their feet, everyone's clapping, everyone's going through it, they've got the full band on. It's finishing on a banger, isn't it? And I think the point I was making is that that's how we should be finishing presentations. That's how we should be kind of rocking out. It's rather than like the thank you slide. Any questions? It's like, really, you've made all this effort,
Shoot me.
massive impact, and actually the part where you can and you finish on the emotional high, and people were off into the street and they were humming, and everyone was like still really excited about it because they totally played the emotion right. Big song, sung well, and that's the point I was making. Is that if we need to go in presentation mode, we've talked about discovery, questions, the rest of it. Sometimes we will be into talk mode. Make sure it's bloody good. Make sure we're kind of hitting the right kind of notes, and then finish on a biggie and just work out what that means in your world.
I love that. And by the way, Fred, if you ever see me end a presentation with "Thank you," any questions, please do shoot me.
Can I take the gun that you got in the car? And go, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, with the big question
Exactly.
mark behind you, just in case people didn't.
Yep.
Horrible.
What do you find drives early engagement in a sales conversation?
So even though it's all the conversations, I mean, it's pretty loud and clear that we're on the same page here, that it's all about the customer. It's got to be about them. However, to really get them into it and starting to give you the answers and wanting to answer your questions and just wanting, as you say, to engage, we've got to earn the right. So by earning the right, what I mean is we need to just indicate that we are an interesting person to speak to because we already do have something of interest, or we get something about their industry, or there's something that we are bringing to the party. So again, just knowing a trend or something that they've done, or just calling out what you suspect a challenge is going to be for them, just something which makes them think, huh, you get us. Right, yeah, I'm going to play now. I will talk to you. That for me is the way to do that. So again, it's discipline, because if you're not going into the full-on rock presentation, it's just enough to be saying, hey, your industry is so interesting. I was reading this stuff about this new regulation you guys have got coming in 2 years' time, and I'm fascinated how people are going to deal with this, because I don't think it's an easy thing. I'd love your opinions on it. What regulation? Oh God, you know what's better than us. Oh no, that's interesting. Not many people know about that one. Oh, we've got some really good ideas. Oh look, secret safe for me. Go on, tell us how are you going to deal with it? Because I've thought about it. I've got some ideas I want to share, but I want to make sure they are relevant and how you're doing it. Bang, we're in. So that's how I do it. Is just indicate I know enough. I've done some research. Yeah, there's something in it for you. I've earned the right. Then we'll start to open up that conversation. That gets people engaged early doors.
Brilliant. And a page right out of the Challenger sale. And I think, am I correct? I think I found you because you commented on something that Todd Capone had written. Is that right?
It could well be, because
Yeah.
I was thinking about it when you were asking about the evolution of sales. I was giving you that potted history, and yeah, compared to him, I was just like, I'm a novice schoolboy. He's like the professor of sales history, and it could well have been, and I'd have said something on that.
Yeah, and you've used the word transparency several times, and his book is The Transparency Sale, which I think is brilliant. In fact, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but I used to work with Todd at the same company before I opened up my consultancy and before he went off on his own. And I had no idea that he was this brilliant. I mean, that book is really fantastic. I love it, especially his talk on transparent negotiations. I just love that. Why not be honest? And that's really the essence of collaboration.
Yeah, it is. So when we chatted, I recorded a podcast with him, but as you can imagine, off air, we were, I think about 2 hours later, we're still gassing away sales history, transparency, how all that knitted together. Yeah, definitely on the same page.
There's no doubt he's a sales nerd, and he loves that historical stuff.
Self-confessed.
Absolutely. I was going to say,
loads of people have told him.
Yep. We only have like 2 minutes left. Let's go with what is comfort with change, and why is that important to salespeople?
Yeah, I mean, I intimated it earlier. Again, one of the parts of PQ, of partnering skills, partnering intelligence, we sell change. That's what we do. Now, have we got any right to do that if we're not comfortable enough with it, or at least understand change and what it's like when somebody's going through change, and that it isn't easy and there's different responses to it? Status quo is normally the biggest piece of competition there is there anyway, isn't there? So, we don't like change, so we'll just not do anything. So we need to understand it so we can challenge the status quo, but also, okay, yeah, we are going to go with you, and it'll be nice and easy for you then, won't it? No, it's going to be really hard because people go through that change curve, which is not dissimilar to grief, is it? It's like, no, I've decided to see, we're changing, it's good, I'm with it, I'm off, I'm running, I can see all the benefits. Everyone else is like, nah, denial. Not going to happen, really. He keeps changing his mind anyway. We don't need to do anything. Anger, bargaining. Oh, can we just do a bit of change? No, we're changing. Acceptance, getting full on kind of stuff out of it. So it's recognizing that that's a thing that people go through, that people do have different responses to it. Some massively resist. You know, so much people love it. They're initiators. They'll change for change's sake. Why? Shoot, you shiny. Most adapt. So again, it's when we understand that, and that's what we're going to have to deal with and lead and use as salespeople. It puts us in a better position, makes us a better partner.
Perfect. Fred, I know you've written a couple of books. I know you have courses and programs. You do training. How can people reach you if they're interested in speaking with you or maybe working with you?
LinkedIn is the go-to one on there. I'm usually posting stuff that you've seen there. It's not just about vampires and chimps. I put pictures of cats on sometimes as well. No, so LinkedIn, Fred Copestake at LinkedIn is the best one. And yeah, if you do connect as a result of this, yeah, please let us know. It's because as a result of this, it'd be really good. But yeah, yeah, you can tell I love talking about this stuff. I'm trying to share as much as possible on this. Well, that's why we write stuff, isn't it? That's why we do try and put decent stuff on LinkedIn and share podcasts and the rest of it. So yeah, please reach out. Love you too.
You and me both, my friend. Well, look, thank you so much for your time today and sharing generously with us. I really appreciate it, Fred. I'll end as I always do. Please, gang, remember, sales is a game of making things happen. So get out there and make sales happen. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. So long.